Welcome to the Heart of the City Regina Downtown podcast series, episode 5. I will be your host, Dominika Denev, Manager of Marketing and Communications for Regina Downtown Business Improvement District. Today's guest, Wendy Turner Larsen, psychologist, professional speaker, author, leadership and wellness coach for INTERSECT Turner Larsen Consulting. Thank you for joining us today, Wendy.
Thank you so much, Dominika. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Wendy joins us today to share tips, tools, and insights for managing emotions during turbulent times and the importance of mental health and emotional wellness. So, Wendy, why don't you start off with explaining how our emotions impact our health and wellness?
Yeah, that's a great question. So our emotions definitely impact our health and wellness, and often our inability to manage our emotions, notice our emotions, and have a really good strategy to process them keeps us from looking at our emotions, noticing them. And of course, as you and I both know, and our listeners know, that can build up over time and can create all kinds of health issues and can create difficulties in relationships. So I always say that if we don't really take the time to look at our emotions, honor them, and I'll talk about how to do that, what happens is either they affect us or they come through us out onto our relationships, as I said.
Absolutely. So you're saying, like, I know we've talked about before, like human nature, it's so often for us just to dismiss our emotions. And with what's going on right now, I just even feel some days you're so busy with work that that's the last thing you think about, right? Like adrenaline's pushing you through. So do you have any advice for situations like that?
Yeah. So, your point about it's human nature not to look at our emotions. And I think that there's some reasons for that is, one is emotions can be like the Wild West. They can be really strong. We don't know what to do with them. They're not really linear. We tend to be a very linear, logical society. And, they can overwhelm us. It makes us feel fearful sometimes with strong emotions. But I think the importance, the most important thing really is, at this point right now, so some people like you will be really busy. Some people's lives have slowed down. Everybody's really in a very different phase and different stage, even with this pandemic. And as I shared earlier this week on another live, was that we're sort of in phase 2, where the crisis hit and we were just managing, shifting to working from home, doing things really quickly with our work, our family, if we have kids at home. And now this phase is, now what? So as you said earlier, when we were just chatting, the adrenaline was kicking in, and, now we can feel sometimes a little bit flat. We can sometimes feel, a little bit unmotivated. So I think, the importance of just taking time from time to time to recognize and just ask yourself, what are you really feeling? Not what you're thinking, but what you're really feeling. And what that does, it teaches you, it sort of moves you out of your head into, being more present with yourself. What I talk about, just really moving into your heart space. And lots of people are uncomfortable with that. And then noticing how you can just allow those emotions to be there and without any judgment or questions. So, an example, in the last couple of weeks, I was talking with a coaching client of mine, a leader, and she had returned to work after being off for health reasons for a period of time. And as we were talking, she was talking very fast, and so we paused, and I just inquired about what she was feeling, and the feeling really was overwhelm. And then the next question was, what do you think is causing that overwhelm? Well, she thought it was because she was too busy. And really what was happening was she was feeling overwhelmed because of her expectations of, to please others or to do things perfectly, right when she got back to work. So when we realized, or she realized, that her beliefs that she should just do it like she always could, she should be able to work, long hours. And she realized that she was able to recognize and reframe that that's not really possible right now. Mm-hmm. So often we've got a lot of emotions going on, we're picking up the collective anxiety, from other people. So a way to be really grounded is just to be present with yourself and ask yourself what you feel, and then to follow up with that and ask yourself what you really need. So if you're feeling anxious, what are you really needing?
Hmm.
For her, it was to step back and lessen her expectations. So when she planned out the next couple weeks with reasonable expectations, I checked back in with her and asked, now how are you feeling? And she says, I'm feeling calm. This feels really reasonable. So I believe that it's an opportunity right now for our emotional intelligence, for us to really explore this. We put a lot of emphasis on physical wellness, eating right, drinking lots of water, movement, getting exercise. We talk about, relationship wellness and social connection, all of that. But this area of emotional wellness is really left off the table much of the time, and often because we don't know what to do with it. And
Hmm.
even with the process that I teach, knowing what you're feeling, just allowing that without judgment, then trying to understand why you're feeling that, that process isn't always linear. It's not always a step-by-step process. And often people expect at the end of a step-by-step process, they should feel better. Well, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we feel worse as we explore grief or as we explore sadness. But without that exploration, we don't know what we need. So definitely, physically, people know if they're tired, they know to rest, hopefully. If they're thirsty, they know to drink water. If they're hungry, they know, to have some food. With emotions, we don't know what we need unless we pay attention to what we're feeling.
Yeah. I know I mentioned on an earlier podcast, and I just thought I'd mention it to you on here too, but on like Friday of last week, we did our first Feel Good Friday, myself and Mandy Bishop. She's a massage therapist and owns Mandela Massage. And I had an emotional morning there, and that's the first time through what we've been going through the pandemic here the last, I think it's like going on 4 weeks I've been working from home, that my emotions actually took over my day, and I was
Mm.
very thrown by them. Like I broke down in a couple yoga classes, and I just was like, even though I've been through your training before, and you, like you said, it's never linear, but it's like you kind
Hmm.
of understand what you should be doing with them. And it it honestly helped because I was able to process it and not be like, oh my God, I can't deal with these right now, right? I got to push them away. But I was just
Mm.
kind of said to myself, like, you've been so, what's the word? Like, there for some of the staff that you work with and, helping them through times and saying, like, if you need a break today, it's okay, right? Like, just let me know what you need help with and I'll help. And I think I was doing that, not really thinking so much of what I needed myself.
Hmm.
And then that day, it just kind of hit me like, okay, Dom, as much as you try to help others, you need to like help yourself as well, right? And it's okay to have those days where you're just like, I can't do this anymore. Like it's just been too much, or
Right.
this is going right. Because then you're I feel too like the work that you're putting out isn't to the level that it should either, right? Like you're missing
Right.
things or flustered, and you, like you said on your Wednesday short yesterday, like you forget things, right? Like you might be putting things places and then be like, oh my gosh, why is that in there and where did that go, right? I was like,
Yes.
yeah, like it is. You start to forget things, right? And
Yeah.
so yeah, and so that kind of happened to me, and so this is all
Mm.
falling into place well as a nice reminder for myself too. Like I said, even though I've been through your training, we all need those reminders when different things happen in our lives of what to go back to and reference. So definitely been pulling out your book and reminding myself. So
Right.
yeah, it's been very helpful. So I thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah. What to go back to? I think you describing, what you were feeling last Friday. What you did was you allowed it. You didn't judge it.
no.
And judging is questioning. Well, I shouldn't be feeling this way. I've been fine. Other people have it worse. We have this whole dialogue in our minds that dismisses what we're feeling.
Mm,
And when we do that, the feeling will get louder. It won't. It's to me, it can be like a 2-year-old having a little bit of a temper tantrum. The feeling won't go away. It will get louder. And to me, it's one of the most important self-care practices is to pay attention um, to draw attention to, what we're feeling, inwardly, and face the discomfort of it. And even strong emotions, if you face it, they really don't, they can't be that intense for very long. When I was working in counseling, often people's anger um, or frustration was about 10-12 minutes, and then it would subside, and it might be like waves. But it makes sense to take care of ourselves. And I really love what you said. You recognize what you were feeling, and then you realized, yeah, you needed a break. You needed to pay attention to yourself like you were
yeah. And
paying attention to other people.
it changed my day. Like that day, I know I had, you have your day off plans and what you were going to do. And I'm like, you know what? Scratch all that. It's just going to be, I'm just going to sit here and just do what I can, right? Like no
Yeah.
expectations for the rest of the day, which it worked out well. Then I was more
Mhm.
clear-minded the next day and just carried on with my weekend. So
Mhm.
definitely helped.
Yeah, great example
Yeah.
of um, acknowledging what you felt and then asking yourself what you needed, and
Hmm.
you needed time off.
Yep.
And if we don't notice that, it will build up. I used to work lots with people who were on stress leave and burned out, and completely overwhelmed. And a lot of it had to do with not just the situation that maybe triggered it, but their beliefs that they should be able to handle everything. And
Hmm.
one of the things right now is we're handling very new things. So the way we might be feeling might be unusual to us. We might be more irritable. We might be, less patient. That's what I noticed with myself, initially. And I thought if I acknowledge it, it will go away. But it was there for quite a while, and still pops up. And so I continually had to ask, what am I needing? And a lot of times it was, um, I needed to step away. I needed to not be with people. I needed, some time.
Yep. Well, I know, Wendy, that you currently are offering 2 virtual sessions throughout the week that are out there for businesses to kind of sign up for their staff to get involved with, or even the general public. Did you want to touch briefly on those sessions?
Yes. So the first one is a Wednesday morning Zoom session, a 20 minute focused, concise, impactful information on stress management for employees. So I call that a weekly Wednesday short. So it's a midweek wellness break. And if people want to find out about that, they can go to my website, turnerlarsen.com, under workshops. Larsen is Sen. And I'm in the third week of that, but they can sign up anytime. And I think we've got about 25 businesses in Regina, some in Alberta, and even one in California that have signed on. And then the second one that is free. So that first one, there's a small fee for that. It's very affordable. The second one that's free is a Saturday morning Facebook Live, and that can be found at Turner Larsen Consulting as well, my Facebook page. That's called Sense and Soul Saturday. And again, that's about 15-20 minutes Facebook Live, where I'm talking about, various things that really are important for us right now. Managing perfectionism, how to deepen into self-compassion, how to acknowledge and give yourself permission to feel, and to give yourself permission to not do well. So
Mhm.
that's at 10 a.m. You can join some of them or all of them.
And I've been, just to give some feedback, I've been on both. I was able to catch your Saturday Sense and Soul this past weekend. And that was the day after I had that a really emotional day. And it was really impactful again for me to kind of start my morning off by listening to your words of advice. And one of my coworkers, even the other day, said she just loves to hear your voice. She's like, something with Wendy's voice is just so calming. She goes, so
Oh, thank
yeah.
you.
So we really enjoy the Wednesday shorts as well. And Wendy offers the recordings after to the businesses that sign up. So I was able to put them on our shared drive. And if you're not able to listen while they're going live, you can listen whenever you need them. So that's been a really nice, helpful tool for the team. Is there any other advice before we end, Wendy, that you want to leave everyone with?
I I think the final piece of advice is just to allow and give yourself permission to feel and be what you are right now. And it may change day, may change weekly. And to me, that's the most important piece of wellness.
I agree. Wendy, well, it was truly a pleasure to listen to your advice and to have you on the podcast today. I hope you want to come back and join us sometime soon. And we thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us.